Smash! The pregnancy test hit the marble bathroom floor, shattering into a million pieces just like Keisha's world. 3 pink lines stared back at her from the broken plastic. Positive, undeniably positive. But the man she'd been trying to trap with this baby for the past 6 months wasn't her husband. If you think this story is about to get crazy, trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Hit that subscribe button, because this tea is about to spill everywhere. 24-year-old Keisha Williams had built her entire identity around being Lagos's most envied slay queen. With over 2 million Instagram followers hanging on her every designer outfit and luxury vacation post, she was the definition of living your best life. Her husband Marcus, a successful tech entrepreneur, bankrolled her glamorous lifestyle while she played the perfect wife online. But behind the ring light and carefully curated posts, Keisha had been orchestrating the ultimate betrayal. For months, she'd been sleeping with Damon, her husband's business partner and best friend since university. Not because she loved him, but because she needed content. A baby would be perfect for her brand. Pregnancy photo shoots, gender reveals, nursery decoration videos. The engagement would be insane. But there was just one problem. Marcus had gotten a vasectomy 2 years ago without telling her. Keisha's hands trembled as she picked up her phone. Damon's contact photo smiled back at her. The same smile he'd flashed at Marcus's birthday party last week while his hand rested on her lower back, hidden from her husband's view. "Baby, we need to talk," she texted, her manicured nails clicking against the screen. Within minutes, her phone buzzed. "Can't. Marcus wants to go over the quarterly reports. Tomorrow." Tomorrow. She stared at the word, fury building in her chest. Here she was, carrying what she thought was his child, and he was worried about business meetings. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd manipulated this entire situation, yet somehow felt betrayed by his casual response. The bathroom door creaked open. "Babe, you okay in there?" Marcus's voice drifted through the crack. Keisha quickly swept the broken test into a towel and shoved it into the trash. "Just doing my skincare routine, baby. Be right out." She looked at herself in the mirror. Even in this moment of chaos, she was flawless, honey-colored skin glowing, edges laid to perfection, designer pajamas hugging her curves. Her followers would die to have her problems. If only they knew the truth. When she emerged from the bathroom, Marcus was already in bed, laptop open, typing furiously. His dark skin gleamed under the soft bedroom lighting, and for a moment, she remembered why she'd married him. Before the followers, before the brand deals, before she decided that love wasn't enough to sustain the lifestyle she deserved. "The partnership with Damon's company is about to make us both millionaires," Marcus said without looking up. "This new app launch is going to change everything." Keisha's stomach lurched, and not from morning sickness. "That's great, baby. You should do some content around it. Maybe a CEO wife series? Your followers would eat that up." She wanted to laugh at the twisted irony. CEO wife carrying the CEO's business partner's baby. The content practically wrote itself. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Another message from Damon. "Actually, come through now. Marcus just left for his late gym session. We can celebrate properly." Keisha's blood ran cold. Marcus was right here beside her. She looked at the timestamp. The message was from 20 minutes ago, which meant Damon thought Marcus had left the house. But Marcus was clearly still here. Unless. She looked at her husband, really looked at him. The laptop screen reflected back, but she could see he wasn't working on quarterly reports. He was scrolling through what looked like text messages, and even from her angle, she could make out a woman's name. Destiny. The same Destiny who'd been sliding into her DMs for months, claiming to have information about Marcus that would destroy her. The same Destiny she'd blocked and dismissed as a jealous hater trying to break up her marriage. Marcus's fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. "Just told her I'm at the gym. Be there in 15. Can't wait to see you, beautiful." Oh, you want to know what happens when a cheating wife finds out her husband is also cheating? And wait until you hear who this Destiny really is. It's about to get messy. Don't you dare click away without hitting that notification bell. The Uber ride to Damon's penthouse felt like an eternity. Keisha sat in the back seat, her mind racing faster than Lagos traffic. In the span of 30 minutes, her entire world had flipped upside down. She was pregnant by her husband's best friend, while her husband was apparently cheating with some woman named Destiny. The driver kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror, probably recognizing her from her viral videos. Any other day, she'd have struck up a conversation, maybe even done a quick Instagram story about her random night out. Tonight, she couldn't even fake a smile. Her phone buzzed constantly. Notifications from her latest post were pouring in. The irony was cruel. There she was just 4 hours ago, posting about loyalty and trust in marriage, with a picture of her and Marcus at dinner, capturing their perfect love. The comments were flooded with heart emojis and women praising their relationship goals. If only they knew, she thought, unconsciously placing her hand on her still flat stomach. Damon's building loomed ahead, all glass and modern luxury. The kind of place that screamed success and attracted women like moths to a flame. She'd been here dozens of times over the past 6 months, each visit carefully planned around Marcus's schedule. Or so she thought. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt like ascending to her own execution. What was she even going to say to Damon? Congratulations, we're having a baby, but by the way, my husband is also cheating, so our secret affair just got a lot more complicated? She knocked on his door, her Hermes bag clutched tightly against her body like armor. Damon opened the door shirtless, his athletic build on full display. That same cocky grin that had first attracted her 6 months ago. Keisha, baby, I thought you couldn't make it tonight. We need to talk. She pushed past him into the apartment. The living room was exactly as she remembered, minimalist, expensive, cold. Like Damon himself, she was beginning to realize. How had she never noticed that before? You look stressed, he said, moving to the bar card. Champagne. I'm pregnant. The champagne bottle slipped from his hands, shattering against the hardwood floor. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. You're what? Pregnant. 3 tests. All positive. She watched his face carefully, noting how his expression shifted from shock to something that looked almost like annoyance. Damon ran his hands over his face, then began pacing. This wasn't part of the plan, Keisha. Plan? What plan? He stopped pacing and looked at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Cold calculation. You think I didn't know what you were doing? You think I'm stupid? Keisha's heart began to race. What are you talking about? You've been trying to get pregnant for months. All those fertility tracking apps on your phone, the way you'd initiate sex during specific times. Did you think I didn't notice? She felt exposed, naked despite being fully clothed. Damon, you wanted to trap me with a baby so you could leave Marcus and upgrade to a richer man. Classic gold digger move. The words hit her like physical blows. That's not. Yes, I wanted a baby, but nothing. Here's what's going to happen. Damon moved to his desk and pulled out a checkbook. I'll pay for whatever you need to take care of this situation. Quietly, discreetly, Keisha stared at him in disbelief. This was not the man who'd whispered sweet promises in her ear for months, who told her she deserved better than Marcus, who'd made her feel like she was worth more than her marriage. You want me to get an abortion? I want you to be smart. Think about your brand, your followers, your reputation. A cheating scandal would destroy everything you've built. As if summoned by his words, her phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. She looked at Damon, then at the phone. He's supposed to be at the gym. Answer it. With trembling fingers, she swiped to accept the call. Baby, where are you? Marcus's voice was tight with barely contained fury. I want to get some late-night food. You said you were going to the gym. Funny thing about that. I'm standing in our bedroom right now, looking at a pregnancy test in our bathroom trash can. The blood drained from Keisha's face. She thought she'd hidden it well enough. Marcus, I can explain. Oh, I'm sure you can. Just like I'm sure you can explain why there's a text thread on your laptop from some guy named Damon talking about celebrating properly. Keisha's laptop. She'd left it open on the bed when she grabbed her bag. In her panic, she'd forgotten to close it. Damon. Marcus's voice was deadly quiet now. As in my business partner, Damon. As in my best friend since university, Damon. Across the room, Damon was making frantic, cutting motions across his throat, but it was too late. Marcus, please, just let me come home. and we can talk about this. Oh, we're definitely going to talk. All three of us. In fact, I'm on my way to Damon's right now. Don't move. The line went dead. Keisha looked at Damon, who had gone pale despite his dark complexion. He knows. He's coming here. Shit. Damon was already moving, grabbing clothes from around the room. You need to leave. Now. Leave? I'm not running from my husband. Your husband who just found out you're carrying his best friend's baby? Are you insane? But even as she protested, Keisha could hear the elevator ding in the hallway outside. Heavy footsteps approaching. Marcus's voice, but he wasn't alone. Through the thin walls, she could hear him talking to someone. A woman's voice responded, sweet and familiar. That's Destiny, Damon whispered, recognition dawning on his face. Your husband's side chick. Y'all, this is about to be the messiest confrontation in history. For people, 2 affairs, 1 pregnancy, and secrets that are about to explode everything. Make sure you're subscribed because the next chapter is going to blow your mind. The knock on the door came exactly 30 seconds later. 3 sharp raps that sounded like a judge's gavel. Keisha's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched Damon frantically button his shirt. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The 20th floor penthouse that had felt like their secret sanctuary was about to become their prison. Open the door, Damon. I know she's in there. Marcus's voice carried through the thick wood, calm but deadly. Keisha moved toward the door, but Damon grabbed her arm. Wait, let me handle this. Handle what? He knows everything. Not everything, Damon hissed, his grip tightening. He doesn't know about the baby. Not for sure. Before she could respond, the door exploded inward. Marcus stood in the doorway, like an avenging angel, his usually gentle features twisted with rage. Behind him stood a woman Keisha recognized from her Instagram DMs, Destiny. But seeing her in person was a shock. This wasn't some random side chick. Destiny was stunning in a way that made Keisha's carefully curated beauty look artificial. Natural hair framing a face that belonged on magazine covers, curves that didn't need filters to look perfect. Well, Marcus said, stepping into the apartment. My wife and my business partner. In his apartment. At midnight. What a coincidence. Destiny followed him in, her eyes locked on Keisha with an expression that could melt steel. Hello, Keisha. We finally meet in person. Marcus, I can explain, Keisha started, but he held up a hand. Explain what? That you've been screwing my best friend behind my back for months? Or maybe you want to explain this? He pulled out his phone, swiping to a photo that made Keisha's knees nearly buckle. It was a screenshot of her and Damon kissing in the parking garage of her apartment building, taken from a security camera. The timestamp showed it was from 3 weeks ago. Destiny's been watching you for a while. Marcus continued, his voice eerily calm. Turns out, she's very good with technology. Security cameras, phone records, credit card statements. Amazing what you can discover when you put your mind to it. Keisha's head spun. You've been having me watched? We've been having each other watched, Destiny said, her voice honey smooth with just a hint of triumph. See, while you were busy playing house with Damon here, your husband was keeping me very entertained. The pieces clicked into place with nauseating clarity. This wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't Marcus discovering her affair and coincidentally having a side piece. This was orchestrated. How long? Keisha whispered. How long what? Marcus asked, though his slight smile suggested he knew exactly what she meant. How long have you two been together? Destiny moved closer to Marcus, her hand sliding possessively around his waist. 8 months. Started right around the time you began acting strange. Staying out late, being secretive with your phone, turning down sex. 8 months. Keisha felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Marcus had been cheating on her longer than she'd been cheating on him. Which meant, the vasectomy, she breathed. Marcus's smile widened, and in that moment, Keisha saw a coldness in her husband she'd never noticed before. What vasectomy? You told me you got a vasectomy 2 years ago. I lied. His words hung in the air like a death sentence. I wanted to see what you'd do when you thought you couldn't get pregnant by me. Turns out, you just find someone else to do the job. Damon, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally found his voice. Marcus, man, this is between you and Keisha. Leave me out of. Leave you out. Marcus turned on him with the fury of a man betrayed by his closest friend. You've been inside my wife for months, and you want me to leave you out? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Destiny interjected, pulling out her phone. Because I have video footage of you two in hotel rooms, restaurant parking lots, and right here in this apartment. Should I post them to your wife's Instagram account? I bet her 2 million followers would love to see what their relationship goals queen has really been up to. Keisha's world tilted on its axis. Everything she'd built, everything she'd worked for, could be destroyed with the tap of a finger. What do you want? What do I want? Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. I want my half of everything we built together. The house, the business investments, the social media accounts. All of it. The social media accounts are mine. Built with my money, promoted through my connections, monetized through partnerships I secured. Try again. Destiny stepped forward, her phone still in hand. Or we can do this the easy way. You sign over everything Marcus wants, disappear quietly, and these videos never see the light of day. And if I don't, then Lagos wakes up tomorrow to see their favorite slay queen getting slayed by her husband's best friend. Think about what that does to your brand, your endorsement deals, your reputation. Keisha looked at Damon, hoping to find some support, some backup. Instead, she saw a man calculating his own survival. Keisha, maybe you should consider what they're saying. This could ruin both of us. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. In the span of one night, she'd lost her husband, her lover, and potentially her entire livelihood. But as she stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of her life, something else began to build inside her. Something hot and dangerous and completely focused. Rage. You want to play games? She said, her voice steady despite the chaos in her heart. Fine, but you forgot something important. What's that? Marcus asked. Keisha placed her hand on her stomach, a gesture so subtle they almost missed it. Almost. I'm carrying a baby that's worth millions to the right people. And trust me, I know exactly who those people are. Marcus's confident expression faltered for the first time that night. What are you talking about? Keisha smiled. And for the first time in months, it was genuine. DNA tests, paternity reveals, exclusive interviews about betrayal and revenge. My pregnancy isn't just a baby, Marcus. It's content. The kind of content that breaks the internet and makes careers. She moved toward the door, her head held high despite everything. You want to destroy me? Go ahead. But I promise you this. When I'm done telling my story, the world will know exactly what kind of man you really are. And Destiny? That little technology hobby of yours? I hope you're good with prison security cameras too. Oh honey, you thought this story was spicy before? Keisha just declared war. And trust me, she's got weapons they don't even know about yet. Smash that like button if you're Team Keisha, because this revenge plot is about to get diabolical. 3 days later, Keisha sat in the plush office of Angela Morrison, Lagos's most ruthless divorce attorney. The woman across from her looked like she could negotiate with the devil and come out ahead. Sharp suit, sharper smile, and a reputation for leaving opposing husbands financially decimated. Mrs. Williams, I have to say, your case is quite unique, Angela said, flipping through a folder thick with photographs, bank statements, and printed messages. 8 months of documented infidelity on his part, 6 months on yours, and a pregnancy that could belong to either man. Keisha shifted in her chair, designer sunglasses hiding the exhaustion in her eyes. She hadn't slept since the confrontation at Damon's apartment. Instead, she'd spent 72 hours meticulously planning her counterattack. It gets better, Keisha said, sliding a flash drive across the mahogany desk. Remember how Destiny was so proud of her surveillance skills? Turns out, she wasn't the only one recording things. Angela plugged in the drive, her eyebrows raising as she scrolled through the contents. Is this audio recordings of every conversation I've had with Damon for the past 6 months, including the ones where he bragged about manipulating Marcus's business decisions to benefit his own company. The partnership Marcus is so proud of? Damon's been embezzling from it since day one. Angela's smile turned predatory. Industrial espionage, embezzlement, fraud. Mrs. Williams, this isn't just a divorce case anymore. This is criminal. But that's not why I'm really here. Keisha leaned forward, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. I want to destroy them. All of them. I want them to lose everything the same way they tried to take everything from me. Revenge is expensive, Mrs. Williams, and not always legal. Good thing I can afford both. Keisha placed a bank statement on the desk. That's my personal account, separate from anything Marcus has access to. 7 figures from brand partnerships and endorsement deals he doesn't even know about. Angelo whistled low. You've been planning this for a while. Marcus taught me to always have an exit strategy. He just didn't think I'd use it against him. Before Angela could respond, Keisha's phone buzzed with a notification that made her blood boil. Marcus had posted on his Instagram a picture of him and Destiny at some upscale restaurant, her hand prominently displaying a massive diamond ring. The caption read, "When you find your soulmate, you know. Destiny and I are engaged. Sometimes life takes you exactly where you need to be. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag true love, hashtag blessed." The comments were already pouring in. Congratulations from friends who had no idea about the affair. Heart emojis from followers who'd spent years watching Marcus and Keisha's perfect marriage. But most cutting of all were the comments asking where Keisha was, why she wasn't congratulating them. They moved fast, Angela observed, looking at the post over Keisha's shoulder. Too fast. Keisha's mind was already racing. An engagement after 3 days? Right after confronting his wife about her affair? This isn't love. This is strategy. Her phone rang. Damon's name flashed on the screen. Answer it, Angela advised. Put on speaker. Keisha, thank God. We need to meet. Now. I don't think that's a good idea, Damon. Marcus is trying to frame me for embezzlement. He's doctored financial records, created fake email trails. He's setting me up to take the fall for everything. Keisha caught Angela's eye, noting how the lawyer was recording the conversation. Take the fall for what, Damon? You know what? The money I moved around to cover our activities. The business trips that were really hotel stays. He's making it look like I stole from the company to fund our affair. Didn't you? Silence on the other end. Then, that's not the point. The point is he's going to send me to prison unless we work together. We need each other, Keisha. We needed each other 3 days ago. Where was this loyalty when you were offering to pay for my abortion? I panicked. You know I care about you. About us. He paused. About the baby. Now he was interested in the baby. Keisha felt that familiar rage building again. What do you want, Damon? Meet me at the Four Seasons. Presidential suite. We can figure this out together. Maybe even turn this whole situation to our advantage. Ow! Think about it. Marcus and Destiny get married fast before your divorce is final. That makes their relationship look suspicious to a judge. Meanwhile, we present a united front. 2 people who fell in love despite being in other relationships. It's a love story, not a scandal. Angela was frantically scribbling notes and nodding encouragingly. I'll think about it, Keisha said. Keisha, there's something else. Something about Destiny you need to know. What? She's pregnant too. The words hit Keisha like a physical blow. Destiny was pregnant, which meant Marcus had been planning this for longer than any of them realized. He hadn't just been having an affair. He'd been building a replacement family. How far along? She whispered. I don't know, but if she's showing already, and if Marcus has been with her for 8 months. The implication hung in the air like poison. If Destiny was far enough along to be showing, and if Marcus had been lying about the vasectomy, then his timeline was all wrong. Which meant either he'd been planning this betrayal for over a year, or, Damon, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Anything. Have you ever slept with Destiny? The pause was long enough to be an answer in itself. Damon, it was before you and I started anything. Way before. Just a few times when she and Marcus were having problems early on. Keisha closed her eyes. The web of betrayal was so thick she could barely see through it anymore. Marcus, Damon, Destiny, herself, they were all connected in ways that made her head spin. But there was one connection they didn't know about. One secret that could change everything. I'll meet you at the Four Seasons, she said. But Damon, come alone and bring every financial record you have on Marcus's business. Every email, Every transaction, everything. Why? Because if we're going down, we're taking everyone with us. She hung up and looked at Angela. How quickly can you get a private investigator to the Four Seasons? Depends. What are we investigating? Paternity, financial fraud, and if I'm right about what I think is going on, possibly bigamy. Angela's smile turned absolutely wicked. Mrs. Williams, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful business relationship. Baby, this story just took a turn that nobody saw coming. 2 pregnancies, multiple affairs, and secrets that are about to blow up everything. Hit that subscribe button because Keisha's about to unleash something that will leave everyone's jaw on the floor. The presidential suite at the Four Seasons felt like neutral territory, but Keisha knew better than to trust appearances. She arrived 30 minutes early, using the time to set up the recording equipment Angela had given her and to steady her nerves. The pregnancy was making itself known now, waves of nausea that had nothing to do with the emotional chaos surrounding her. She wore all black, designer from head to toe, her makeup flawless despite the turmoil in her life. If she was going to battle, she looked like a warrior while doing it. Damon arrived precisely on time, carrying a briefcase that looked heavy enough to contain the weight of all their sins. He'd aged years in the past 3 days, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, a tension in his shoulders that spoke of sleepless nights. You look beautiful, he said, attempting their old, easy familiarity. Cut the charm, Damon. Show me what you brought. He opened the briefcase on the marble coffee table, revealing stacks of documents, flash drives, and printed emails. Everything you asked for. Financial records going back 2 years, email correspondence, meeting notes. It's all here. Keisha began sorting through the papers, her business degree finally coming in handy for something other than managing her social media empire. What she found made her stomach turn for reasons that had nothing to do with pregnancy. Damon, these numbers don't make sense. According to this, Marcus's company has been hemorrhaging money for months. But his lifestyle hasn't changed at all. If anything, he's been spending more. That's what I've been trying to tell you. He's been moving money around, cooking the books. I think he's been planning to pin it all on me from the beginning. But Keisha saw something Damon missed. She spread the financial statements across the table like tarot cards, looking for patterns. Her years of managing brand partnerships and endorsement deals had taught her to spot irregularities in financial flows. Damon, look at these dates. The money transfers, the irregularities, they all started around the same time Marcus supposedly began his affair with Destiny. So what if it wasn't an affair? What if it was a business partnership? Damon's confusion was obvious, but Keisha's mind was racing ahead, connecting dots that painted a picture none of them had seen before. Think about it. Destiny shows up out of nowhere, conveniently skilled in surveillance and technology. She starts tracking me, gathering evidence of our affair. Meanwhile, Marcus begins moving money around in ways that point to you as the guilty party. You think they planned this from the beginning? I think they planned to rob you blind and use my affair as the cover story. Keisha pulled out her phone, scrolling through old screenshots. Look at this. Remember when you told me Destiny had been in your DMs months before she started messaging me? Yeah, she was trying to get me to invest in some tech startup she was working on. What kind of startup? Some app for, oh shit. Damon's face went pale. Some app for tracking financial irregularities in business partnerships. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Destiny hadn't just been Marcus's side piece or even his surveillance expert. She'd been his co-conspirator in an elaborate scheme to steal Damon's half of their business empire. They've been setting you up for months, Keisha said. The affair, the pregnancy, the confrontation, it was all theater. They needed you to look guilty of something so no one would believe you when you accused Marcus of embezzlement. Before Damon could respond, Keisha's phone rang. Angela's number. Mrs. Williams, you need to see this. Can you get to a computer? I'm with Damon now. What did you find? Check your email. I'm sending you something that changes everything. Keisha opened her laptop, waiting as Angela's email loaded. The attachment was a marriage certificate. Marcus Williams and Destiny Johnson. Dated 6 months ago. They're already married, Keisha whispered. There's more. Angela's voice crackled through the phone. The private investigator found records showing Marcus has been supporting Destiny financially for over a year. Property records, credit cards, even a joint business license for a tech consulting company. Keisha felt the room spin around her. That means when he married her 6 months ago, he was committing bigamy. Your marriage to Marcus is still legal, which makes his marriage to Destiny completely invalid. But even more than that, it meant Marcus had been living a double life far longer and more elaborately than any of them had imagined. The confrontation at Damon's apartment hadn't been about catching cheating spouses. It had been about finalizing a con game that had been in motion for over a year. "Damon," she said, her voice deadly calm, "call Marcus. Tell him you want to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "Tell him you'll confess to embezzling from the business in exchange for him not pressing charges. Tell him you'll disappear quietly, sign over your shares of the company, whatever he wants." "Why would I do that?" "Because when he agrees, we'll have him confessing to crimes he actually committed. And because while he thinks he's winning, we'll be setting up the biggest reversal this city has ever seen." Damon stared at her with something approaching awe. "You're terrifying when you're angry." "I'm not angry anymore, Damon. I'm focused." She stood up, smoothing her dress. "Make the call. Set up a meeting for tomorrow. Public place, lots of witnesses." "What are you planning?" "I'm planning to give Marcus and Destiny exactly what they want. And then I'm going to destroy them with it." Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Enjoyed the show at the hotel. Your fans would love to see what their queen is really up to. Check your DMs." Keisha's Instagram notifications were exploding. Someone had leaked photos of her entering the 4 seasons with Damon. The comments were brutal, her followers turning on her with the viciousness of a mob. But as she read through the hate, something unexpected happened. Mixed in with the vitriol were messages of support from women who'd been through similar betrayals. Women who understood the complexity of her situation. Women who were ready to hear her side of the story. "Change of plans," she said to Damon. "We're not meeting Marcus privately. We're going live. Y'all, Keisha just discovered she's been playing checkers while everyone else was playing chess. But now she's about to flip the entire board. Make sure you hit that notification bell because this revenge plot is about to go nuclear." Keisha sat in her Mercedes outside Marcus's office building, watching the morning crowd rush past on their way to meetings and deals that would never change their lives the way this one was about to change hers. In her passenger seat sat a briefcase containing enough evidence to destroy 3 lives, 4 if she counted her own. But destruction had never been the goal. Reconstruction was. Her phone showed 2.3 million Instagram followers, but the comments on her recent posts had shifted from worship to warfare. Hashtag Slay Queen Exposed was trending, with leaked photos of her and Damon plastered across every gossip blog in Lagos and beyond. The court of public opinion had tried and convicted her before she'd even had a chance to speak. That was about to change. "You sure about this?" Damon asked from the back seat, where he'd been hiding from paparazzi for the past hour. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." She opened her laptop, positioning it on the dashboard, so the camera captured both her face and the office building behind her. Her makeup was perfect, her outfit carefully chosen, professional but approachable, expensive but not flashy. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who'd been underestimated by everyone around her. Going live in 3, 2, 1. The viewer count started at 0 and climbed rapidly. Within seconds, she had thousands of people watching, the number growing exponentially as notifications pinged across social media. "Hey, beautiful people," she said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to do. "I know y'all have been seeing stories about me, and I know most of you are disappointed. You thought you knew me, and now you feel lied to. I get it. I really do." The comments were rolling in too fast to read, a mix of support and condemnation that painted her phone screen like digital graffiti. "But before you write me off completely, I want you to hear the truth. Not the version that's been carefully crafted to make me look like the villain, but the real truth about what's been happening in my life." She took a breath, centering herself. 6 months ago, I found out my husband had been lying to me about getting a vasectomy. Not because he wanted children with me, but because he wanted to see what I would do when I thought I couldn't have his babies. That manipulation led me to make choices I'm not proud of, but choices that revealed the truth about everyone around me. The viewer count hit 100,000 and kept climbing. She could see Marcus's office window from where she sat, and she wondered if he was watching. My husband Marcus Williams and his business partner Damon have been stealing money from their joint company for over a year. But more than that, Marcus has been living a double life with a woman named Destiny Johnson, who he secretly married 6 months ago while still married to me. She pulled out the marriage certificate, holding it up to the camera. This is proof of bigamy. This is proof that while y'all were commenting relationship goals on our posts, my husband was committing federal crimes. The comments exploded with shock and disbelief. She could see people sharing the live stream, tagging news outlets, spreading the revelation across the internet like wildfire. Now, I know what you're thinking. Keisha, you cheated too. You're just as guilty. And you're right. I am guilty of having an affair. I'm guilty of trying to get pregnant by another man to trap him into leaving his wife for me. I'm guilty of a lot of things. Her voice cracked slightly, the first sign of vulnerability she'd shown. But I'm also guilty of being young and stupid and believing that love wasn't enough when someone was systematically destroying my ability to trust him. A black SUV pulled up to the office building. Marcus stepped out, followed by Destiny, her hand resting protectively on her obviously pregnant belly. They were both dressed for business, probably heading to a meeting where they planned to finalize stealing Damon's half of the company. "Oh, look," Keisha said, angling the camera so her viewers could see. "There's my husband and his pregnant wife now. The wife he married while married to me. The wife who's been helping him commit fraud for over a year." Marcus looked around, sensing he was being watched. When he spotted Keisha's car, his face contorted with rage. He started walking toward her, Destiny trying to hold him back. "Don't worry, y'all," Keisha continued to her audience. "He can't do anything to me in public with thousands of witnesses watching." Marcus reached her car window, his face red with fury. "In this now, Keisha, you're destroying everything." "I'm not destroying anything that wasn't already broken," she replied, making sure her voice carried to the camera. "Tell the people watching why you married another woman while you were still married to me." This isn't what it looks like." "Then what is it, Marcus? Explain to my 150,000 viewers why you've been committing bigamy." The number was actually closer to 200,000 now, with major news outlets starting to pick up the stream. She could see reporters arriving at the scene, drawn by the trending hashtags and the spectacle of a public meltdown. Destiny stepped forward, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Keisha, honey, you're obviously having some kind of breakdown. Maybe you should get some help before you say something you can't take back." "The only thing I can't take back is trusting any of you." Keisha turned back to the camera. "See, beautiful people, this is what gaslighting looks like. This is what happens when people think you're too young, too pretty, too focused on social media to be smart enough to see what they're doing." She opened the briefcase, pulling out financial documents. For the past year, Marcus and Destiny have been systematically stealing from his business partner. They created fake accounts, forged documents, and planned to frame Damon for embezzlement so they could take full control of a multi-million-dollar tech company. More cars were arriving now. Police, reporters, curious onlookers drawn by the growing crowd. Keisha's live stream had become the center of a media circus, with news vans setting up and cameras rolling. "But here's the thing they didn't count on," she continued, her confidence growing with each passing second. "They underestimated me. They thought I was just a pretty face with a phone, too caught up in my image to notice what was happening around me." Damon finally stepped out of the car, briefcase in hand. The crowd murmured as people recognized him from business magazines and society pages. "Damon Richardson," Keisha announced to the camera, "Marcus's business partner and the father of the baby I'm carrying. Yes, I'm pregnant. Yes, I cheated. But unlike some people, I'm not going to lie about it or use it to commit crimes." The revelation sent shockwaves through the comments. Pregnancy announcements were usually cause for celebration on social media, but this one was different. This was a weapon being deployed in a war that had been brewing for months. Marcus lunged toward the car, but Damon stepped between them. "Don't," he said, his voice carrying clearly to the microphones and cameras now surrounding them. Not in front of all these people. You set this up, Marcus accused, looking between Keisha and Damon. This whole thing is a setup. No, Keisha said, still speaking to her camera. This is what justice looks like. This is what happens when you try to destroy someone and forget that they have access to the same tools you do. She pulled out her phone, showing the screen to the camera. I've just sent copies of all your financial records to the Lagos Financial Crimes Commission, the IRS, and 3 major investigative journalists. By tomorrow morning, everyone will know exactly what you and Destiny have been doing. Destiny's composure finally cracked. You stupid little girl. You have no idea what you've just done. You've destroyed yourself more than anyone else. Have I? Keisha smiled for the first time in days, and it was genuine. Because from where I'm sitting, I just exposed the truth to over 300,000 people. I just proved that I'm not the only villain in this story. And I just made sure that everyone who tried to destroy me is going down with me. She looked directly into the camera, her expression serious. Beautiful people, I know this isn't the content you follow me for. I know you wanted fashion and lifestyle and relationship goals. But sometimes real life is messier than our feeds. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones who hurt us deepest. Police officers were approaching now, probably called by Marcus or building security. But Keisha wasn't worried. Everything she'd done was legal, and everything she'd revealed was true. I'm not asking you to forgive me for my mistakes, she continued. I'm asking you to learn from them. Don't trust people just because they're successful. Don't ignore red flags just because someone loves you. And never, ever let anyone make you feel like you're too young or too naive to see the truth. She closed the laptop, ending the live stream that would dominate news cycles for weeks to come. Honey, Keisha just served a revenge plot colder than Lagos AC. But you think this is over? Oh baby, we're just getting started. The fallout from this public destruction is about to get wild. Don't you dare miss what happens next. The arrest warrants came down 72 hours after Keisha's explosive live stream. Marcus for bigamy and embezzlement. Destiny for conspiracy to commit fraud. The tech company's assets were frozen pending investigation. And Keisha found herself at the center of a media storm that made her previous influencer fame look like a gentle breeze. She sat in Angela's office, watching news coverage of Marcus being led away in handcuffs. The image was surreal. Her husband, the man she'd shared a bed with for 3 years, reduced to a perp walk on national television. The prosecution wants to make a deal, Angela said, muting the TV. Full immunity in exchange for your testimony against Marcus and Destiny. What about Damon? Separate deal. He's cooperating fully, providing financial records and testimony. Turns out when faced with actual prison time, loyalty becomes negotiable. Keisha's phone buzzed constantly with interview requests, brand partnership offers, and book deal inquiries. The story had captured international attention. Young woman exposes husband's criminal enterprise through social media confession. It was the kind of narrative that media companies built entire campaigns around. But fame built on scandal felt different from fame built on aspiration. These weren't followers who wanted her lifestyle. They were spectators drawn to her destruction. There's something else, Angela continued. The DNA results came back. Keisha's heart stopped. In all the chaos of arrests and media attention, she'd almost forgotten about the paternity test she'd secretly ordered. And Angela slid an envelope across the desk. You might want to read this privately. But Keisha opened it there, needing to know immediately. Her eyes scanned the technical language until she found a conclusion that changed everything. Probability of paternity, 0%. Marcus Williams is not the biological father. Her hands trembled as the implications sank in. If Marcus wasn't the father, and if she'd only been with Damon during her fertile periods. There's more, Angela said gently. We ran additional tests based on some evidence that came to light during the investigation. Another envelope. Another life-altering revelation. Probability of paternity, 99.7%. Damon Richardson is the biological father. Keisha should have felt relief. The baby was Damon's, which simplified the legal and emotional complexities. But instead, she felt a strange emptiness. For months, She'd been carrying a child she thought might be her husband's, might be her lover's, might be the key to fixing or destroying her marriage. Now she knew the truth, and the truth felt anticlimactic. "I need air," she said, standing abruptly. Angela's office was on the 15th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lagos's business district. Keisha pressed her forehead against the cool glass, watching tiny figures move through the streets below like ants in a colony. Her phone rang. Damon's name flashed on the screen. "I heard about the DNA results," he said without preamble. "We need to talk." "I don't think there's anything left to talk about." "There's everything to talk about. We're having a baby together, Keisha. That changes things, does it? Because 3 days ago you wanted me to get rid of this baby. Now, suddenly you're interested in playing family?" "I made a mistake. I was scared, confused. But I've had time to think, and I want to do right by you. By us." Through the window, Keisha could see reporters gathered outside the building, waiting for her to emerge. Her life had become public property, every decision scrutinized and judged by millions of strangers. "Damon, I'm tired. I'm pregnant and tired, and I just watched my husband get arrested on national television. I need time to figure out who I am when I'm not performing for cameras or trying to please men who see me as a prize to be won." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I need space. From you, from this situation, from all of it." She hung up before he could respond and turned back to Angela, who was pretending not to have overheard every word. "I want to disappear for a while," Keisha said. "Somewhere quiet where I can think without reporters following me. That's probably smart. The trial won't begin for months, and you'll need to be in good physical and mental shape to testify. There's one more thing I need you to do." "Name it." "I want to donate half of everything I get from the divorce settlement. Set up a foundation for women who've been financially abused by their partners. Help them get legal representation, start over, build something of their own." Angela raised an eyebrow. "That's very generous and very public relations savvy. It's not about PR. It's about making sure something good comes from all this destruction." But even as she said it, Keisha knew it wasn't entirely true. Everything she did now would be viewed through the lens of public opinion. Her genuine desire to help other women would be analyzed for ulterior motives. Her every charitable act scrutinized for authenticity. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had posted a video response to her live stream confession. A young woman in Abuja talking about her own experience with an abusive husband who'd hidden money and gaslit her into believing she was paranoid. The comments under the video were different from the ones Keisha had grown accustomed to. Instead of praise for her looks or lifestyle, people were sharing their own stories of betrayal, manipulation, and survival. Women who'd found strength in her public breakdown, who saw themselves in her rage and determination. "Angela, I want to do one more live stream before I disappear. Are you sure that's wise? The prosecution might prefer if you maintained a lower profile. I need to say goodbye properly, and I need to tell them what I learned from all this." 2 hours later, Keisha sat in her car outside the same office building where she destroyed her old life. But this time, she was alone. No Damon hiding in the back seat. No Marcus emerging from the building. No Destiny playing puppet master from the shadows. She looked different too. Her makeup was minimal, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her outfit casual but elegant. She looked like herself for the first time in months. "Hey, beautiful people," she said to the camera, her voice softer than it had been during her explosive confession. "I know a lot has happened since we last talked. I know you've seen the arrests, read the headlines, formed your opinions about who I am and what I've done." The viewer count climbed steadily, but she wasn't focused on the numbers anymore. "I want to tell you what I've learned from all this chaos. I learned that when you build your identity around other people's approval, you lose yourself. I learned that love without trust is just performance art. And I learned that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to burn down everything you thought you wanted." She paused, placing her hand on her stomach where the baby was growing. "I'm going to be a mother soon, and that baby is going to need me to be more than just a pretty face with a smartphone. She's going to need me to be strong, honest, and brave enough to build a life based on truth instead of likes." The comments were overwhelmingly supportive now. Women sharing their own stories of starting over, of finding strength in destruction, of learning to love themselves more than they loved other people's opinions. So this is goodbye for now. Not forever, but for now. When I come back, I'll be different. We'll all be different. And maybe that's exactly what we need. She ended the stream and drove away from the building, away from the reporters, away from the life she'd spent years constructing and days destroying. In her rearview mirror, she could see the Lagos skyline growing smaller. But ahead of her stretched an open road and the possibility of becoming someone she'd never been before. Just herself. Y'all, Keisha just chose herself over everything else, and honestly, that's the most powerful thing she could have done. But don't think this story is over. Sometimes the best revenge is living well, and Keisha's about to show us what that looks like. Make sure you're subscribed, because her comeback is going to be legendary. 6 months later, Keisha stood on the veranda of a small house in Ghana's countryside, her hand resting on her now prominent belly as she watched the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. The silence was profound after months of Lagos traffic and media chaos, just birds singing and wind rustling through palm trees. Her phone sat on a table nearby, completely silent. She turned off all notifications 6 months ago and had learned to live without the constant ping of approval from strangers. The withdrawal had been harder than she'd expected, like breaking an addiction to digital validation. "Morning, beautiful," said Dr. Adwoa Asani, her midwife and the closest thing she had to a friend in this quiet corner of the world. "How are you feeling?" "Like a house," Keisha laughed, accepting the cup of herbal tea Adwoa offered. "But a peaceful house." The older woman sat beside her, her own cup steaming in the morning air. "Any word from your lawyer?" "The trial starts next week. Marcus and Destiny both pled guilty to avoid prison time, but they'll still do community service and pay massive fines." "Damon." She paused. "Damon got immunity for testifying, but his reputation is destroyed. No one in Lagos will do business with him." "And how do you feel about that?" It was a question Adwoa asked often, gently pushing Keisha to examine her emotions instead of just surviving them. After months of therapy sessions conducted via video call and long walks through cocoa plantations, Keisha had learned to recognize the difference between what she thought she should feel and what she actually felt. "I feel empty about it. Not satisfied like I thought I would be. Not guilty either. Just empty." "That's healing," Adwoa said. "When you stop needing other people to suffer for you to feel better, that's when you know you're becoming whole again." Keisha's phone buzzed once, a scheduled reminder she'd set for herself. Today was the day she'd decided to check back in with the digital world, to see what remained of her empire and what could be rebuilt. She opened Instagram for the first time in months. Her follower count had dropped to 800,000, but the engagement on her last post was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Thousands of comments from women sharing their own stories of starting over, of choosing themselves, of finding strength in solitude. There were also hundreds of direct messages from brands wanting to work with her, news outlets requesting interviews, and publishers interested in book deals. But mixed in with the business inquiries were personal messages that made her eyes water. "Keisha, your story gave me the courage to leave my abusive marriage. I started therapy because of what you shared about healing. You showed me it's okay to burn down a life that's built on lies. The foundation you started helped me get legal representation when my ex tried to steal our business." The foundation. In her digital absence, Angela had been managing the organization Keisha had funded with her divorce settlement. The stories of women who'd been helped were overwhelming. Legal aid for divorce proceedings, therapy funding, business loans for those starting over. Her phone rang. Angela's name flashed on the screen. "Keisha, thank God. I've been hoping you'd surface soon." "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Do you have any idea how many women have been helped by your foundation? How many lives you've changed?" Keisha looked out at the peaceful landscape, trying to reconcile this quiet life with the impact Angela was describing. "The Oprah Winfrey Network wants to do a documentary about your story," Angela continued. "But more than that, they want to showcase the women who've been helped by your foundation. Give them a platform to tell their stories. I don't know if I'm ready to be back in the public eye." It's not about you being in the public eye, Keisha. It's about using your platform for something bigger than yourself. That was always the difference between you and Marcus. He used people to build his empire, but you can use your empire to help people. That afternoon, Keisha walked through the small village where she'd been living. Everyone knew her story. It was impossible to hide from global news, even in rural Ghana. But here she was, just the pregnant American woman who helped at the local clinic and taught English to children. At the clinic, she found a young woman about her age holding a crying baby while trying to fill out forms with a bandaged hand. "Can I help?" Keisha asked in the Twi she'd been learning. The woman looked up with suspicious eyes. Then recognition dawned. "You're the one from the news. The one whose husband tried to steal everything." "I am. And you're dealing with something similar?" Slowly, the woman's story came out. An abusive husband who'd taken control of her small business, isolated her from family, convinced her she was worthless without him. She'd finally found the courage to leave when she'd seen Keisha's live stream confession. "But now I have nothing," the woman said. "No money, no place to live, no way to support my baby." Keisha thought about the foundation, about the book deals and documentary offers Angela had mentioned, about the platform she'd built and destroyed and could build again. "What if I told you that you're not alone? That there are resources available, people who want to help? People like you, people like us." That evening, Keisha sat with her laptop for the first time in months. But instead of checking social media or managing her image, she was researching programs for women leaving abusive relationships, compiling resources, making notes for something bigger than herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from Damon. "Saw the news about the documentary. We should talk about co-parenting arrangements before this goes public again." She stared at the message for a long time before responding. "My lawyer will be in touch about custody arrangements." "But Damon, this isn't about us anymore. This is about our daughter having a mother who shows her that it's possible to turn pain into purpose." As if summoned by her thoughts, the baby kicked hard against her ribs. Keisha placed both hands on her belly, imagining the little girl growing inside, a daughter who would never know her mother as the woman who needed validation from strangers, who stayed with men who diminished her, who built her worth on other people's opinions. "Your mama is going to teach you something I had to learn the hard way," she whispered to her unborn daughter. "She's going to teach you that your value doesn't come from being chosen by someone else. It comes from choosing yourself every single day, even when it's hard." The sunset was spectacular, painting the sky in colors no filter could enhance. Keisha watched it without taking a single photo, learning to experience beauty without needing to share it, to live moments without performing them. But tomorrow, she would pick up her phone again, not to perform or please or seek approval, but to use the platform she'd built to amplify voices that needed to be heard, to turn her mess into a message, to transform her breakdown into breakthrough for others. Baby, Keisha just discovered something more powerful than going viral, going real. But don't think her story is ending quietly, because sometimes the most powerful revenge is healing yourself and helping others heal too. This transformation is about to inspire something beautiful. The delivery room in Accra's premier private hospital was a far cry from the quiet village where Keisha had spent her pregnancy. After 18 hours of labor, she held her daughter, Amara, which meant grace in a can, and understood for the first time what people meant when they talked about love at first sight. "She's perfect," whispered Dr. Asani, who had traveled with Keisha for the birth. "Look at those eyes. She's going to be a force of nature, just like her mother." Keisha couldn't stop staring at the tiny face, searching for traces of herself and Damon in the delicate features. But mostly, Amara looked like herself, entirely new, carrying no one's baggage except the potential for her own choices. "Has the father arrived?" a nurse asked quietly. "He's in the waiting room," Keisha replied. "But he can wait a little longer." For the past hour, she'd been alone with Amara, skin to skin, learning the weight and warmth of motherhood without any audience or performance. The birth had been documented only by the medical team. No photographers, no social media updates, no public sharing of this private miracle. Her phone sat silently on the bedside table, loaded with messages she hadn't read. The documentary had aired the week before, featuring her story alongside 12 other women who'd rebuilt their lives after financial abuse. The response had been overwhelming. Millions of views, countless shares, and a flood of support for her foundation. But none of that mattered right now. Right now, there was only this tiny person who had made her a mother, who had given her a purpose beyond revenge or redemption. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Damon stood in the doorway, looking nervous and hopeful in equal measure. "Can I come in?" Keisha nodded, adjusting her position so Amara was visible but still securely in her arms. Damon approached slowly, as if afraid sudden movement might break something precious. When he saw his daughter for the first time, his composure crumbled entirely. "Oh my God," he breathed. She's incredible. She is." Keisha's voice was soft but firm. "And she deserves better than what we put each other through." "I know. I've been thinking about that every day for months." Damon pulled up a chair, keeping respectful distance. "I've been in therapy, working on myself, trying to understand how I became the kind of man who would offer money for an abortion one day and want to play happy family the next." "And what did you learn?" "I learned that I treated you like a prize instead of person. I learned that I was so focused on winning you from Marcus, winning the business competition, winning some imaginary game, that I forgot we were talking about real lives." Amara stirred in Keisha's arms, making tiny sounds that were almost like questions. Everything about her was perfect and pure, untouched by the complicated history that had brought her into existence. "I want to be a good father to her," Damon continued. "Not because it looks good or because it's what people expect, but because she deserves to have a father who shows up consistently, who keeps his promises, who puts her needs first." "Actions, not words," Keisha said simply. "Actions, not words," he agreed. They sat in comfortable silence, both watching Amara's tiny chest rise and fall with each breath. Outside the window, a crowd bustled with afternoon energy, but inside this room, time felt suspended. "There's something else," Damon said eventually. "Something I need to tell you before you hear it from someone else." Keisha's stomach tightened. Even now, even in this moment of pure joy, there were still complications to navigate. "Marcus contacted me last week." "What did he want?" "To apologize and to warn me about Destiny." Despite everything that had happened, hearing Marcus's name still triggered complex emotions in Keisha. Not love, that had died completely, but a kind of nostalgic sadness for the person she'd thought he was. "Warn you about what?" "She's been telling people that you orchestrated the whole thing, that you manipulated me into stealing from the business so you could expose Marcus and take everything in the divorce." Keisha felt a familiar flash of rage, but it faded quickly. Let Destiny spin whatever narrative helped her sleep at night. The truth was documented, the courts had decided, and the people who mattered knew what really happened. Does it matter what she says? Not legally, but it might matter for your reputation, your foundation work. "Damon, let me tell you something I learned during these months away." Keisha shifted Amara to her other arm, her voice growing stronger. "My reputation isn't built on what people say about me anymore. It's built on what I do for others. The women I help don't care if I was perfect or if I made mistakes. They care that I survived and that I'm using what I learned to help them survive too." A text notification chimed on her phone. Angela, probably with updates about the foundation or interview requests or business opportunities. All of it could wait. "I've made a decision," Keisha said. "About going back to social media, about the public life, all of it." Damon waited. "I'm going to do it differently this time. No more perfect life performance. No more hiding the messy parts or pretending everything is flawless. If I'm going to have a platform, I'm going to use it to show women what real life looks like, the struggles, the victories, the growth, all of it, including single motherhood." "We're not going to be single parents," Keisha corrected. "We're going to be co-parents. Two people who share a daughter and a commitment to putting her well-being above our own egos or comfort." As if responding to the conversation about her future, Amara opened her eyes for the first time since being born. They were dark and alert, seeming to take in everything around her with intense curiosity. "She's going to change the world," Damon said with conviction. She already changed mine. That evening, after Damon had left and the hospital had grown quiet, Keisha finally picked up her phone. Hundreds of messages, thousands of notifications, interview requests from international media outlets. But the one that caught her attention was from an unknown number in Lagos. Ms. Williams, my name is Grace Okoro. I'm a 19-year-old university student whose abusive boyfriend tried to steal my small business. I saw your documentary and applied to your foundation for help. Because of the legal aid you provided, I not only got my business back, I expanded it. I now employ 6 other young women who were in similar situations. I wanted you to know that your pain became our strength. Thank you for turning your breakdown into our breakthrough. Keisha read the message 3 times, tears streaming down her face. This was why she'd survived everything. Not for fame or redemption or revenge, but for Grace and the hundreds of other women like her who needed to know that survival was possible, that pain could become purpose, that sometimes the most beautiful thing you could do was help others heal from wounds similar to your own. She looked at Amara sleeping peacefully in the hospital bassinet, and for the first time in over a year, Keisha Williams felt complete. Not because a man had chosen her, or because millions of people followed her, but because she had chosen herself and used that choice to make space for others to do the same. Y'all, this is what healing looks like. Not perfect, not easy, but real and powerful and transformative. Keisha just became the mother her daughter needs and the woman her younger self needed. But the story's not over yet, because sometimes the best chapter is the one where you stop surviving and start thriving. 1 year later, Keisha stood before a packed auditorium at the University of Lagos, her 18-month-old daughter playing quietly in a carrier against her chest. The irony wasn't lost on her. This was the same city where her life had imploded, where she'd been photographed, judged, and written off as another fallen influencer. Now she was here as a keynote speaker for Rising Again, a conference on economic empowerment for women. A year and a half ago, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the microphone. I thought my life was over. My marriage had ended in public scandal, my reputation was destroyed, and I was pregnant with a baby whose father was my husband's former best friend. The audience was completely silent, hanging on every word. In the front row sat Grace Okoro, the young woman whose message had reminded Keisha why her pain had purpose. Grace now ran a network of support groups for financially abused women across West Africa. I thought my story was about betrayal, about revenge, about men who had treated me like a prize to be won rather than a person to be respected. Amara babbled softly, and Keisha smiled, adjusting the carrier. But I was wrong. My story was about choice. Behind her, a screen displayed statistics about financial abuse, about women who stayed in harmful relationships because they couldn't see a path to independence, about the epidemic of economic manipulation that kept millions trapped. Every day, I chose to stay in a marriage where I was valued more for my appearance and social media, following than for my intelligence or dreams. Every day, I chose to have an affair rather than address the problems in my marriage directly. Every day, I chose to see myself through other people's eyes instead of learning to see myself clearly. In the audience, phones were recording, but not for gossip or scandal this time. Women were capturing moments of recognition, sharing clips that would inspire others to make different choices. But then I made a different choice. I chose to tell the truth, even when it destroyed the life I'd built. I chose to face the consequences of my actions instead of hiding behind victimhood. And most importantly, I chose to transform my pain into purpose. She gestured to the screen, which now showed photos from foundation-funded programs. Women in business suits graduating from entrepreneurship courses, mothers starting small businesses from their homes, young women learning financial literacy in community centers across Africa. The Amara Foundation, named for my daughter, whose name means grace, has helped over 3,000 women leave abusive relationships and rebuild their lives. We've provided legal aid, business loans, therapy funding, and job training. But more than that, we've provided proof that it's possible to start over, no matter how publicly you failed. Amara began to fuss, and instead of being embarrassed, Keisha laughed. And this is real life. everyone. Sometimes you're giving a speech about empowerment and your baby needs attention. Because balance isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. The audience erupted in applause and laughter as Keisha took a moment to soothe her daughter. I want to share something with you that I've learned about second chances, she continued once Amara had settled. You don't get them from other people. You give them to yourself. Every morning, you wake up and choose who you want to be that day. You choose whether to carry yesterday's mistakes or today's possibilities. In the back of the auditorium, she spotted a familiar figure. Damon, who had flown in from his new life in South Africa, where he was slowly rebuilding his career and reputation. They'd maintained cordial co-parenting relationship, sharing custody of Amara and supporting each other's growth without romantic complications. He caught her eye and nodded, a gesture of respect and shared commitment to their daughter's well-being. I'm often asked if I regret the choices that led to my public downfall, Keisha said. And the answer is complicated. I regret the pain I caused. I regret the lies I told. I regret the time I wasted trying to be someone else's version of perfect. She paused, looking out at hundreds of faces, young women, older women, women who saw themselves in her story, and women who were learning from her mistakes. But I don't regret the breakdown that led to the breakthrough. I don't regret learning that my worth isn't determined by how many people follow me or how perfect my life looks online. And I especially don't regret becoming the kind of woman my daughter can be proud of. Amara chose that moment to reach up and grab the microphone, causing feedback that made everyone laugh. It was perfect, unscripted, authentic, real. This little girl will grow up knowing that her mother made mistakes, but didn't let those mistakes define her. She'll know that it's possible to fall down publicly and get back up stronger. Most importantly, she'll know that a woman's power comes not from the men who choose her, but from her own choices. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. But more meaningful than the applause were the women who approached afterward. Mothers with daughters, students with dreams, entrepreneurs with setbacks, survivors with stories of their own. Ms. Williams, a young woman who couldn't have been more than 20, I left my abusive boyfriend last month after watching your documentary. I'm scared, but I'm free. The scared part gets easier, Keisha replied, shifting Amara to one arm so she could hug the young woman. The free part gets stronger. As the crowd dispersed, Grace Okoro approached with a tablet in her hands. Keisha, I wanted to show you something before you leave Lagos. The screen displayed a map of West Africa dotted with pins, each one representing a support group, legal aid clinic, or business incubation program funded by the Amara Foundation. There were hundreds of pins, thousands of women whose lives have been touched by Keisha's decision to transform her pain into purpose. This is your real legacy, Grace said. Not the scandal, not the drama, but this network of women helping women. That evening, Keisha sat in her hotel suite overlooking Lagos's glittering skyline. Amara was asleep in her travel crib, exhausted from a day of being passed around by admirers. The city lights stretched endlessly in all directions. Millions of people living their own complicated stories of love, betrayal, survival, and growth. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unexpected source. Marcus, saw the coverage of your speech today. I wanted you to know that I'm proud of what you've built from everything that happened. Destiny and I are divorced now. Turns out building a relationship on deception doesn't create a strong foundation. I'm in therapy, working on becoming a better person. I hope we can all find peace. Keisha stared at the message for a long time. A year ago, hearing from Marcus would have triggered rage or sadness or some desperate need for vindication. Tonight, she felt only a distant compassion for all of them. Herself, Marcus, Damon, even Destiny. They'd all been playing roles in a drama that none of them had fully understood, hurting each other and themselves in pursuit of things that hadn't brought any of them lasting happiness. She typed back, "Peace is possible, Marcus. It starts with forgiving ourselves for not knowing better when we didn't know better. I hope you find yours." Her laptop sat open on the desk, displaying the Foundation's latest impact report. 3,000 women helped. 50 businesses launched. 12 legal precedents set in cases of economic abuse. One daughter who would grow up knowing that her mother had turned her worst moments in her greatest purpose. But the numbers that mattered most were invisible. The moments of recognition when a woman realized she deserved better, the conversations between mothers and daughters about healthy relationships, the ripple effects of healing that would touch generations. Keisha opened a new document and began typing. Dear Amara, by the time you're old enough to read this, you'll probably have seen the videos, read the articles, heard the story of how your mother's life fell apart and came back together. You'll have questions, and you deserve honest answers. I want you to know that the mistakes I made don't define me, but how I responded to those mistakes does. I want you to know that it's possible to be both flawed and worthy, both broken and beautiful, both human and powerful. Most importantly, I want you to know that your worth is not determined by who loves you, but by how well you love yourself. Your value is not measured by how perfect you appear, but by how authentically you live. The world will try to tell you that women must choose between being loved and being strong, between being beautiful and being smart, between being successful and being good. But you, my darling girl, can be all of these things because you are mine, and I have learned that the most radical thing a woman can do is refuse to be smaller than she is. Your mother was once a woman who needed validation from strangers, who stayed with men who diminished her, who thought her worth came from being chosen. Now your mother is a woman who chooses herself every day, who builds other women up instead of tearing them down, who knows that her greatest success is not in how she's perceived, but in how she perceives herself. This is your inheritance, baby girl, not money or fame or social media followers, but the knowledge that you can fall down and get back up, that you can make mistakes and still be worthy of love, that you can transform your pain into purpose and your struggles into strength. The world is waiting for you, Amara, not to perform for it or please it or conform to it, but to change it, because that's what women like us do. We take the broken pieces of our lives and build something beautiful from them. Oh, my love, your mother. She saved the document and closed the laptop, then walked to the window where Legos continued its eternal dance of ambition and survival. Somewhere out there, women were making the same choices she'd once made, finding themselves in the same situations she'd once faced. But now there was a network ready to catch them, support them, help them write different endings to their stories. Amara stirred in her sleep, making the soft sounds babies make when they're dreaming. What did 18-month-old children dream about? Probably nothing as complicated as the adult world of betrayal and redemption, revenge and forgiveness, breakdown and breakthrough. Maybe they dreamed about possibility. Keisha picked up her phone one last time, opening Instagram to post a photo of the Lagos skyline. The caption was simple. Home is not a place or a person. Home is the peace you make with your own story. Lagos, thank you for teaching me how to fall down. Ghana, thank you for teaching me how to get back up. The world, thank you for teaching me that broken things can become beautiful when you stop trying to hide the cracks. Hashtag breakdown to breakthrough. Hashtag Amara Foundation. Hashtag choosing myself. Within minutes, the likes and comments were pouring in. But for the first time in her adult life, Keisha didn't watch them accumulate. Instead, she turned off the phone, checked on her sleeping daughter, and went to bed with the satisfaction of a woman who had learned the difference between being seen and being known, between being chosen and choosing herself, between surviving and thriving. In the morning, she would fly back to Ghana with Amara, back to the quiet life she'd built away from the spotlight. But she would carry with her the knowledge that her story, messy, complicated, real, had become a bridge for other women to cross from who they were to who they could become. And maybe that was the most beautiful revenge of all. Not destroying the people who had hurt her, but building something so powerful from the wreckage that their betrayal became the foundation for thousands of women's liberation. Beautiful people, this is how a queen really slays. Not by tearing others down, but by lifting others up. Keisha turned her pain into power, her breakdown into breakthrough, and her scandal into salvation for thousands of women. That is what real revenge looks like. If this story touched your heart, make sure you're following because real-life inspiration like this is exactly what we all need. Remember, Your worth isn't determined by who chooses you, but by how you choose yourself. Choose wisely, choose boldly, choose you.